We're live here in the Energy Evolution Exchange, and coming up here in just a few minutes, we have a very special speaker. So if you can hear my voice, come on over and have a seat. We'll get started here shortly. The Executive Director, Digital Well Construction at Baker Hughes, Matthias Gatzen, will be here in just a couple of minutes. Water there for you if you want
perfect.
it. Get organized. Okay, good morning once again. Welcome to our live audience here in Houston at OTC 26. This is the Energy Evolution Exchange. My name is Amy Sweezy, and I've been hosting in this beautiful space the last couple of days here at OTC. We also, of course, have a global audience that is joining us on the live stream, so welcome to all of you this morning as well. My next guest is Dr. Matthias Gatzen. Matthias is the Executive Director, Digital Well Construction at Baker Hughes, and he is here to talk about delivering the future of digital well construction. So, Dr. Matthias Gatzen, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so we're going to have a conversation. First of all, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the well construction efficiency, I want to just ask you, what does Baker Hughes do and what do you do?
Well, first of all, great question. Thank you. So Baker Hughes is an energy technology company, and we offer solutions across the entire energy portfolio, from constructing a well, completing a well, producing a well, all the way through industrial power, turbines, ranging into even data center power and operating applications for data centers. So we have a very, very wide range of offerings. I myself am in the well construction space. So I lead digital for well construction for our business segment, and with my dedicated team, we're focused on changing the narrative in the well construction space from a digital perspective.
Okay, great. And that, of course, is what we want to talk about today. Over the last 10 years, digitalization has changed a lot, right? Especially when it comes to well construction. Not just being efficient because things are going faster, but also in how the work actually gets done. So can you just kind of give us a brief, tell me about the last 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
Where are we now?
So I think it's like anywhere in the world, the last 10 years from a digital perspective have been amazing, right? So going from very simple spreadsheets and very simple paper-based calculations now to very high-performance computing, autonomous operations, and really leveraging all the technologies that are coming out there. So from a well construction perspective, we come from a very rich history on how to drill and complete a well. It's a very complex operations. We're at the OTC, especially in the offshore space, very, very complex operation. So we bring decades and decades of experience in how to do that. And now the mission statement over the last years has been, how do you digitize that experience? And then a next step, how do you automate that experience? So how do you really go from having the experts do everything to supporting the experts so they can drive more performance out of the operation? So that's the state we're at right now, and I think we'll cover a lot more deeper where we're going with the automation space.
Yes, for sure. And how has, like in the last 10 years, how has that changed the decisions that are made at the well site?
Yeah, so we love using data for decisions, right? So, we were talking about it earlier as well before we got on stage. Data is really, really critical to everything you do. And over the last years, we've had access to tremendous data sets that you did not have historically. Just because we're putting all the data into the cloud, we have very exquisite tools to analyze that data and to make sure that data is available. So what we do now is we leverage a very wealthy, rich set of data to make all of our decisions, even before we go to a job, even in the planning stage, to make sure that we get the maximum performance in our strategic plan, and then as we execute, we leverage data then to get more performance in real time out of the operation.
Okay, I want to ask you about these two words, autonomous and automation. So
okay.
Autonomy and automation, they're kind of used interchangeably, but they really shouldn't be, right?
Exactly. So that's a great question, because we are at Baker Hughes, we're highly focused on autonomous, right? So when we think about automated, the way to think about it is a rule-based execution. So you have an automation in place, so you have a process, and A and B and C is done, but there are certain rules in place, right? If this, then that. If it's very simple, like a thermostat, right? If the temperature is too low, increase the temperature, and similar. Now, when you think about autonomous, that's now where you're using intelligence, you're using your analytics, you're using your AI, and you're allowing the system now to make very comprehensive decisions and to really get maximum performance out of the operation. So we're highly focused on autonomous operations. The reason autonomous operations are so challenging is that in a very complex drilling environment, you obviously can't have the system do whatever it wants to do, right? You have to have certain safety HS&E parameters that you want to stay within. So we have a very comprehensive system that allows you to run autonomously, but stay within certain thresholds and certain environments that allow you to have a very, very safe and very productive operation.
So then how do you go from automated execution to more autonomy? Okay,
that's a fantastic question. So we actually, in our suite of applications in the Cantori family, and we can talk about that if you want later on, we have the full range of rule-based, automated, autonomous. And so what we actually do in our operations is we sit down with our customers and we map out a comprehensive plan of how to get digital, first of all, onto the rigs, then how to get to the automatic execution, so we have those rules, and then to the autonomous operation. And so what you do is a comprehensive change management plan. It's a little bit like driving your vehicle. If you have an autonomous vehicle with self-driving, the first time you get in it, you drive yourself. The second time you're kind of antsy about how it's doing some steering, but you probably touch your steering wheel. You want to make sure it stays on the road. And then once you're comfortable with that, you let it drive kind of by yourself, right? So that's pretty much the approach we also take with our customers. So we map out beforehand where do you want to be, which level of autonomous operations do you want to execute down the road, and then we guide together with the customer teams, we guide them there.
So where are we in the industry when it comes to, autonomy? Is it still early stage?
Yeah, I would say in general it is still early stage, and it's a rapidly evolving environment, right? So if you take a look at what's happening in the cloud space, in the AI space, this is something that's growing very, very quickly. From an autonomous operations perspective, there's multiple tiers of customers. So there's customers that are very, very interested. From day one, they say, we want to run autonomous operations. We go out there, we tackle that with them. They get very excited about it. But you also have customers that are on earlier on in the digitization journey. So where we actually sit down and start using automated systems to start getting them into the loop on that. But in general, the industry has a lot of room to grow in the autonomous space. And we see that really the future. So we see autonomous operations being run on all the rigs. We run it, automated operations is in some form or other in every single job we run. Autonomous operations is something that's used on special jobs with our customers.
I don't think we can go much further in this conversation without talking about trust.
Yes.
And mistrust, right? And how do you build confidence, especially with the operators, when you've got real-time decisions being made at the well site?
Yeah. So that's a fantastic question. I was mentioning that a little bit earlier in the response. It's an entire change management process to build trust, right? So as I was saying, you don't get into your car and you just press the button and drive off by yourself. The airlines, they don't use an autopilot without having tested all that. We do the same. So when we develop new products, we actually have a very good process in-house at Baker Hughes of how to test those products. We have lab environments where we test the products, and then we have our own test drilling rig where we continuously test all of our new autonomous operations solutions. And so once you've tested it on your rig, we then go to pilot customers where we run these operations with engineers on site that show the customer the value and so on. So we have an entire process of how to develop and evolve these technologies. Now in day-to-day operations, we really work on that change management plan with the customer. We set very clear targets. What do we expect the system to achieve? How much performance increase do we want to get out of your operations? And then we hit or exceed those targets. And that's how you build the trust, right? You say you're going to do A and you get A or better, that's where the customer gets excited.
So it can be baby steps.
It can be baby steps, yes. And it's really also up to the customer how they want to evolve, right? Because we don't come and say you have to use all this, right? This is a value add that we see where we can get more performance and efficiencies. And so we work with the customer on that journey together at their pace.
Can you talk a little bit about, the measurable value? Can you give some examples?
Yeah. So in general, when we run autonomous operations, every single operation is different, right? It depends on if you're onshore, offshore, the type of rig you have, and so on. So it's a very complex operation. So we can't generalize performance KPIs. But that being said, we've had customers where we've shaved off 50% of their operational time in certain sections, where from a planning phase downhole, the rate of penetration, so how fast we're drilling a section, has been increased by 80% even in certain increments. So we see massive, massive benefits of using these systems. And the reason it's such a good evolution for us using autonomous operations is we have, as I mentioned, decades of experience that are sitting in these systems. You put AI and analytics on top of that, and now you're giving the engineers an actual tool set to drive really, really tremendous results with the customers. And so if you think about it, you're upskilling your team to have a great tool set, and they're overseeing the operation and can maximize performance by just looking at how the operation is executing and tweaking where needed.
And do you think this is actually helping collaboration among the teams?
Absolutely. So in the autonomous journey, the first thing we actually do when we digitize operations is we run remote operations. So we bring all of our sensors to the rig, and we have a team in a remote center, it's like a command center, sit and monitor the overall operations. In this remote center, we have all of our different departments, experts from all the different departments, from the geology department, from the drilling performance department, and similar. They all sit in that room, and they tackle these jobs together. So now you got everybody sitting in one room, talking together, seeing how we can get that performance out. So that's the first part. And then when you now bolt on autonomous operations, they're now overseeing the system. The system is doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and they can further tweak it. So digitization, bringing everything into one center, and now driving that performance is really fantastic.
I want to talk more about Cantori. You
Yes.
mentioned this earlier, and it is not Jim Cantori, right? Pronounced the same, spelled very differently. So first of all, what is Cantori?
So Cantori is a very exciting solution we launched in January this year. It's our autonomous operations solution. Cantori is a comprehensive end-to-end suite of applications that allow us to run autonomous operations. So there's 4 real big pillars in Cantori autonomous operations. One is Cantori connection. So that's about bringing all the data from the rig into town, making sure the data is QC'd, it's clean, it's ready to use. That's so important for us because for any type of analytic or AI we use, we need to have very clean, very high quality data. And data coming from drill rigs, as many people in the audience know, is not always at the level you'd like to have it. So we have that first package is Cantori connection. The second package is Cantori assessment. And so that's where we take the data and we start making first decisions with that data. We have alarms in there, we have KPIs in there. We also, what we do in the assessment space is we work together with our collaboration partner, Corva, which is an analytics and application suite to assess that data. The third key part of Cantori is placement. So when we're drilling a well, we need to make sure that well is placed properly. So what we do there is we do all the pre-job planning in the reservoir. We have our engineering tool, which is reservoir-based, so we can actually look at all the formation tops, all the sections, all the transitions. And then we have the autonomous placement available, where we can drill an entire section autonomously without human interaction. So we actually go out to the rig site, we have a bypass actuator, and we can completely steer the operation without any interaction. And additionally, maybe to emphasize, we also can do that in the reservoir section. So we can drill at the top of your formation and make sure you have the maximum reservoir extraction without even touching any of the commands. And the fourth area of Cantori is performance. So that's where we take all of the data, all of the information that we have from the other 3 areas, and we see how do you maximize performance? Which flow rates do you need? How do you have your hole cleaning? How do you eliminate stuck pipe? So the Cantori performance area is now where you take your operation and you look at your AFE and you see how do I get that incremental value out of the operation. So it's about connection, it's assessment, it's placement, and then it's driving performance with all of that data. And that's Cantori. Very great traction with the customers. You know, we're seeing tremendous results using it.
Fantastic. So if, autonomy is clearly where the industry is headed, which I believe you believe that is the case, right? What are the next practical steps? How do we get there?
Yeah. So, I mean, in general, we're already there. At least I'm speaking for the Baker Hughes side. We have all the solutions available. Now, what's happening now over time is these solutions are further evolving, right? So as you have more cloud compute capabilities, as you can introduce additional agents, we're actually seeing that every single release of our application, so we have regular releases, it's a software development cycle, every single release of the application drives incremental performance for the customers. So the application that we launched earlier this year, it's already been updated multiple times and really drives incremental performance just by the features that we're adding. So if you think about the pace of how we're changing and how we're evolving, and you think about all the technologies that are coming out, it's super exciting times for us. So we're really looking forward also to the next evolutions. What we're also doing is we're working very closely with our customers. So when we evolve certain parts of Cantori, we collaborate with our customers on co-developments, just to make sure that features that they may be looking for in Cantori are co-developed with them, implementing their knowledge, their experience. So that's actually maybe a call out to the audience here. If you're highly interested in Cantori, evolving Cantori, working with us, we're very open to collaborating on the evolution of Cantori.
Do you feel like there needs to be a mindset shift? Any operator that's kind of mapping out their well construction strategy right now? Yeah,
so in general, what we're seeing is many of the operators and the companies in this space, they are reassessing their digital strategy, their AI strategies. We're involved in a lot of these discussions. They also call us in and say, hey, Matthias, can you talk about what you're doing in AI and what you're doing in digital? I see a lot of them really going in and saying, okay, what do the next 5 to 10 years in the digital space bring? Now, it's very hard to say 10 years, right? It's just looking back 2 years, you wouldn't have known what's going on now, right? So it's amazing times, but they are all assessing it. I think my recommendation is, reassess your overall strategy, think about which technologies are available and how you can drive that incremental performance. And of course, we're always very happy to talk about how we can weigh in there. I think one of the big benefits about Cantori is we have described it, a comprehensive suite of applications. But the way we design Cantori is you don't have to use all of it. So for example, if a customer says, I already have a license for a certain application doing this, this, and this, we can look how Cantori can complement that in certain spaces. So you're not locked into a big, massive platform. We can actually weigh in and help out in those areas that are interesting for the customers.
You mentioned the future. We can't stop this conversation without talking about the future. What are you most excited about in this space as we move into the next several years?
Look, I think in general, what we're seeing on the AI space, there's a lot of ideas out there what could happen. Where I get very excited is agents and the opportunities you can have with agents and how you can orchestrate certain agents, both from a service delivery side as well as supply chain agents, how you manage your overall supply chain. I think that's a huge opportunity. Now, is all that unleashed yet? I think we're learning as an industry, we're learning also as a company. I mean, digital is so exciting because every day you go to work, you learn new things and you get to experiment a lot. But I think agents are one of the areas to stay close looking at for the future.
All right, Dr. Gatzen, here in Houston and to our global audience, is there anything else that you would like to add?
No, well, first of all, I think as an industry, one thing that we want to look at is how we standardize certain interfaces in the automation space. So if we think about how we connect to a rig, how we connect to rig control systems, I think, if you're thinking about industry standardization, that's one of the big topics that we're looking at. Being at an industry conference here like today, that's a call that I want to make. There's a lot of great work ongoing. That's a journey we want to accelerate. If you want to connect to rigs, right now you have to build multiple interfaces for each rig that you want to connect with. That will change in the future. That's something that's being worked on. But overall, I think, maybe closing out, we are very excited about where we are right now in the autonomous space, and I'll be around here in case anybody wants to have a chat with me. For those online, feel free to reach out. We're always happy to talk about Cantori and the options and opportunities we have with Cantori, so looking forward to the reach out there.
Okay, Dr. Matthias Gatzen from Baker Hughes, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.